Ladies and gentlemen of the world, welcome back to the Stuck in My Thoughts podcast. As always, I'm your host and All-American high jumper, Justin Stuckey. This episode is brought to you by Simmons Sporting Goods of Alabama. They have everything from hunting, fishing, and anything outdoors, and they will take care of you the same way they are taking care of us in today's episode, and we appreciate them. For this episode today, we have a special guest with us. She's an ESPN reporter, SEC Network reporter, and AL.com. She's a two-time Emmy Award winner, and she's also a former collegiate athlete at Rutgers University. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Miss Lauren Sisler.
Woo woo!
Thank
Former
you.
athlete. I love it. You literally teed me up so perfectly. And
Yeah.
you nailed it. First time. One take wonder right
Yeah,
there, my
one
friends.
take. This is one take on the Stuck in My Thoughts podcast. Lauren, thank you for being here. I just now figured I can call her Lauren, so I feel a little bit more honored.
He did ask me in advance, do I call you Lauren? Do I call you Miss Lauren, Miss Sisler, all the things? And I appreciate that about you. Very respectful of that. But Lauren, we're good with that.
Yeah, so you have a lot of titles on your name already. I would just assume you're pretty busy. Is that accurate?
Busy. Well, I guess you can ask me that question when this podcast actually rolls out. But we are heading right into football season, as we know. It's a very busy time of year. Although the million-dollar question is always, well, what do you do in the off-season? Look, you know as an athlete, there ain't no such thing as an off-season.
Yeah.
But we have football season rapidly approaching. Super excited about it. We've got our ESPN seminar coming up. We go to Charlotte for that and kind of meet as a team, as a group, kind of get everybody on the same page. Love getting that opportunity to kind of meet with all the reporters and the anchors and the the play-by-play, the analysts, the producers, everyone that we're working with. Because the bottom line is we get assigned our crews and then we get dispersed every week. We don't get to see everybody, right? I get to watch my friends on TV when their game's on and, I'm sitting at the hotel eating dinner or, in my hotel room studying for my game. Oh, there's my friend Dawn. Oh, there's my friend Stormy Taylor, I get excited about that. But it's cool to have the opportunity to kind of get everybody together. And, it's about to be go time. Fall camp starting for most programs right now. And, it's coming fast and furious.
Oh yeah. You're gonna be on a plane some this year?
Yeah. So of course I love this because I rack up those points.
Oh yeah.
Rack up those miles. When I jump on a plane. So I would say that. Now it is nice because I am based in Birmingham, right? So it is nice that I can jump in a car and get most places. Usually my rule of thumb, if it's 4 hours or under, I'm gonna jump in the car. Just because a lot of times it's easier to get in a car and just drive the 4 hours versus like take a flight, and typically you can't do a direct flight and all those things. So, if I go to Georgia, I'm going to get in a car. Knoxville, I actually get in a car because Knoxville is actually halfway to my home in Roanoke, Virginia.
Shout out, Virginia.
Shout out. Whoop, whoop. Virginia's for lovers. Thank you very much. But yeah, so I will just, it kind of depends on how things go. But yes, every single week of the year, basically we get our assignments on Sunday. We, start booking our travel. We start doing our production meetings, and then we're getting ready for whatever game it is we're getting ready for. And we have to do a lot of studying, a lot of prep, and then we're taking off. But it's been cool to see a lot of different schools, a lot of different programs, and kind of being embedded in the SEC is a great foundation, and have certainly enjoyed it.
Shout out to the SEC. Your boy is coming. I'm coming to the SEC very soon.
Oh, I know, right? Look, I got my SEC logo on. What side is it on? Oh,
Shout out to the
there.
SEC or Eagle, all that good stuff.
Yes.
So all the student athletes, for the fall sports are getting prepared and getting geared up for their seasons. Let's go back in time, not too long ago, when you were a student athlete. You were a captain of the gymnastics team at Rutgers University.
Yep.
How do you feel like the student-athlete experience shaped you? Because in my personal opinion, student-athletes have a different perspective on a lot of things, being in that circle. So how did it shape you when you were in that?
Man, I'll tell you, I look back at my experience at Rutgers and just being a student-athlete and the significance of that. Sometimes I get choked up even talking about it because I do feel like, and I know we're going to get more into my story, but how, athletics shapes us, right? Athletics is such a big part of our lives. I was a gymnast since the age of 3, and I know I'm sitting down right now, but y'all, I'm 5'9", a little bit too tall to be a gymnast. But hey, you know what? God had a plan for me, and He just said, this is how it's going to be. I had to figure it out. I had to sort of evolve with my growth spurt. But I made it work, and I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go to Rutgers. It was always a dream of mine because at 5'9", and I wasn't 5'9". I actually kept growing when I got to college, but I wasn't going to be an Olympian, right? Like I didn't have the physique. Like I wasn't in that sort of homeschool life where you sort of set aside 6, 7, 8 hours a day to train for the Olympics. So I wasn't at that level. Like some people that are training.
Oh my gosh.
That are getting there. I'm gonna hype him up.
Yeah,
Hype him up.
2024 Paris, you're gonna see me. Don't you worry.
Yes, we are gonna see him. And I'm gonna be his cheerleader. But I knew Olympics was probably not happening. But hey, what can I do? So obviously the college scholarship was sort of what I felt was within reach, and the experience is just second to none. It's so hard to put a price tag on it, and I think that is, for me, where this conversation of NIL comes up, and getting paid to play, and what comes with being a college athlete. I do think there is still so much value in being a student athlete, and the resources that you get, and this, right? Like, just having the team, having the camaraderie, having the people surrounding you, the teammates, and just the resources and the support to get through school. Because let's be real, you clock out on high school and you're clocking in on college life. It is a totally different ballgame.
Two different worlds.
Totally different worlds. And there's no way to prepare, truly prepare for it. And so I think having that family and having those people surround you, the college experience was certainly one that I will forever be grateful for. And Rutgers never on my radar, and I am so thankful for my Rutgers family. And by the way, y'all football fans out there, Rutgers invented college football 1869, so you can't ever take that away from us.
Oh my goodness. Shout out Rutgers too. We're just going to give your school the credit right now.
Scarlet Knights, y'all. Scarlet.
So this year we celebrated 50 years of Title IX, and that's, a great feat, especially for women in college athletics and stuff. How do you feel, like, since your time being in college athletics, do you feel women's sports has grown or the lack of growth? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a great question, and it's kind of crazy thinking about that, 50 years and just where things have come. And, I've seen the evolution of the athletics, not only as an athlete myself in college, but obviously post-college and getting to cover athletes on a regular basis and just seeing the growth. I think there has, certainly been a tremendous amount of growth in terms of the notoriety. What I love, and I use this as an example, as a former gymnast, right? You go to Auburn Arena, we'll give them a shout out, Coleman Coliseum. I mean, not to downplay the basketball teams, because they sometimes pack out the arenas, but the gymnastics team,
they're loaded.
They're getting sellout crowds almost every weekend, and it's so amazing to me because the sports scene, especially the women's sports scene, has been able to elevate itself. And I really think a lot of that is credit to the television networks that have given them that opportunity to be broadcast and showcase on the regional and or national stage, bringing that attention to them. So it's not just your footballs and your basketballs and your baseballs that you're seeing on television. Now you're seeing a variety of sports, and not just men's sports, but women's sports as well. So I do think that support has been there, and just the love that I feel that women are getting in the sports arena and sports world, because we're seeing that the abilities that women have, in their own right, in their own respective sports, can match that of, the men's sports. And it's just fun to see the backing and the support that comes behind that and being a part of that. So the growth has been tremendous, and certainly shout out to all my ladies out there that are, bumping and grinding and getting it going and just going after it, and certainly, making sure that they, kind of represent at female women's athletics the way that they have, and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it's great to see like the evolution of women's sports. And I know for you're usually covering college, but on the professional side of things, there's a big debate right now going on with just the WNBA and the NBA. Like, I saw a stat talking about how LeBron James's one contract was more than any of the athletes in the WNBA's contract. And, talk about things like, TV rating, people showing up to games, different things like that. How do you feel like women's sports, more so on the professional side, can get more traction?
Yeah, I think, number one, we talk about the television networks and how they have started to broadcast more events. Obviously, the digital world has certainly helped with that. And I think that, social media, while sometimes you and I had this conversation, when we met at Melt and had our grilled cheese sandwiches. Well, I had a grilled cheese sandwich.
Shout out Melt. If you want to sponsor, brother, let us know. Let us know.
My mac and cheese grilled cheese was amazing. But when we had lunch, we talked about this. Social media can be, a detriment in some ways if you get too engrossed in it and a lot of the comparisons, but it can also be, a benefit, right? And we know that this podcast will end up on social media, and, it can be used in a great way. And I think that how female athletes represent themselves and kind of show up and are able to, kind of break down some of those barriers and use their voice, their platform, and these social mediums to really sort of speak up and speak out about, sort of finding that equality when it comes to women's athletics and, men's athletics. And, I definitely have seen a growth in that. And I just love that, we're at a place now where we're recognizing, men and women equally. And while I know the pay scale is quite a bit different, I think there have been things implemented in trying to get that to become more equivalent. I couldn't, I wouldn't say that I necessarily would be an expert in kind of diving and taking you behind the curtains of like what people make. But like you said, you can take some of the highest paid, men's athletes and then, take it on the women's side and you're going to see a deviation. Yeah. But I do think that more attention is being brought to it and that there's definitely a lot more opportunity for women out there now to get to that professional side of things.
Yeah, I think it's definitely growing. And as you see, like, more and more people are speaking out about it. So I feel like that's turning heads in general and starting to get more traction there. It's just going to continue to be, people to appreciate male and female sports because these females out here are getting it done. Like,
getting it done.
Females out here getting it done, man. And it's going to take a lot of people, like, swallowing some pride and understanding that, females can go crazy too in their own way. So like, I feel like it's a big thing to do. I'm going to Atlanta this weekend. I want to go see the Atlanta Dream play.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the Dream. If I make it there, I'm ready to see some.
That's awesome.
Some
yeah. And
hoops.
and I think when you talk about the different sports, what I love about athletics in general, every sport to me has a unique personality, right? Gymnastics has its own unique personality. There's a performance element to it, right? You kind of go out, you perform, and I think that certain athletes and certain gymnasts over the course of time, especially in recent years, have kind of brought some attention to the sport because of that performance aspect and things that have gone viral. Oh my gosh, watch this girl's, routine and just seeing, how that sport has used its personality, so to speak, to kind of elevate it, right? Same goes for softball and, track and field and, volleyball. I think every sport has its own unique sort of personality to it, and to be able to kind of leverage that and bring that to the forefront. And, I got to be honest with you, as someone that just recently covered the World Games here in Birmingham, it was so cool to be sort of in the mix of that and seeing even some of these sports that nothing about or knew very little about coming in. For instance, breaking, right? That was a sport that I didn't even know now is going to be in the 2024 Olympics. Are you kidding me? I've always wanted to learn to break.
You guys try out?
I'd love to. I got a couple lessons in it if you go check out my social media. Sunny Choi showed me a few moves. She's from New York, and she ended up winning the silver medal for the women's division, or B girl, I should say, B girl and B boy. But recognizing these sports and being able to see that other countries and other places outside of the United States are paying specific attention and or giving respect to sports that are outside of just that top tier. Because I think sometimes we get in a bubble of like top tier sports, and I experienced that at Rutgers, right? We technically as a gymnastics team were a tier 2 sport because we weren't in the Big Ten at the time. We were technically Big East, but there is no such thing as Big East gymnastics. So in theory, we kind of had a league of our own, and a lot of times it was recognized differently than a football, a basketball, baseball, and some of the other top tier sports. And so I love that there's kind of an even playing field that's coming into focus, and still a lot of work to be done, but I think we're getting there.
Okay, I got you. So you just mentioned Rutgers again. Let's move back to your time there. And I think everybody can attest to this, especially if you've been in college. If you're in high school, just wait till it comes. Freshman year, when you're getting to college, it's a big transition. There's good times, there's bad times. It's a learning curve for everybody. You're going to have good things happen. You may have some adversity happen. And for you, when you were in college, you ran into some tough times. We talked about your story when we've met before, and you see it when you go speak all around the country. It's a very impactful story to talk about. You lost your parents in the matter of hours, at your time in college. Talk about how you overcame, because we can talk about, the negatives, but I like to focus on the positive. How were you able to overcome your situation of adversity at that time period in college?
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that. Certainly we talk about how our life experiences have shaped us, and most certainly the loss of my parents. I was just a freshman at Rutgers. Both of them had been going to a pain management doctor and struggling with chronic pain, and had been taking several prescription drugs to sort of help them cope with that pain. And eventually, they started to misuse those prescription drugs as, it became, part of their everyday life. Their ability to function was tied to those prescription drugs. And so, it came as a shock to my family, and certainly never in a million years thought that my parents wouldn't still be here today, cheering me on through, all the life's milestones, graduating from college and getting married, and getting married twice, actually, to the same person, but the pandemic. And then the next year we did the celebration. But, always envisioned my parents being there to walk me down the aisle and to be part of that. And then, even now being, a sports reporter, I just think about my parents, giving me a call and, oh, whoa, we saw you on TV. Oh, it's so great to kind of just be my biggest cheerleaders. And, that component is certainly missing now. But spinning it to the positive side of things, I do feel like that situation has shaped me. And, we really are we can oftentimes be defined by defeat, and I kind of use that phrase, defined by defeat, because a lot of times it's when we are challenged that we're able to take those challenges and use them in a positive way. And I can truly say that, when I talk about Rutgers and how close they are to my heart, I went back to school 2 weeks after burying both of my parents. My family, my aunt Linda basically said, Lauren, like, you've got a commitment to yourself, your university, your teammates, you got to go back to school. And I really just didn't see there being another option at the time. And as I look back on the last 19 years of my life, I had so many choices when my parents passed away of I could go this way or this way, this way or this way. And were all the choices and all the directions that I went the right way? Maybe, maybe not. But I do feel like, taking adversity and being able to use that is such a key piece to what makes us resilient, what makes us who we are. And I am forever grateful that while I wish I could bring my parents back and wish I could have them in my life now, I'm also grateful for what it has taught me and the perspective it has given me with them not here with me. And I certainly think it has lent itself to, opening doors that, perhaps maybe I would have been afraid to open had I not experienced such a significant loss at an early point in time in my life.
Yeah. It's great how you can look at it from that perspective and, like we said, just turn a negative into a positive. That's a situation I can't relate to. I know many people who have lost parents, especially during college, and, it takes a village, takes a circle, and you talk about your family members that helped you through that time as well. And I think that's very impactful to know, like, you can't do it alone. That's the biggest thing, and understanding that if you're going through something, speak up. There's going to be people wanting to be in your corner, wanting to help you, because sometimes we need people to pick us up. And so that's very impactful to talk about. So what advice would you give to somebody who's going through adversity, whether big or small?
Yeah, I mean, and here's the first thing, being there for someone. You talk about that circle, right? We've all experienced different things in our lives. And while maybe, some people can't relate to having lost a parent because they haven't gone through that, but they've experienced some sort of loss in their life, something significant, and not to downplay that, right? Because I think a lot of times we're in this comparison game, and I oftentimes find that sometimes people, they want to offer support, but they say, I can't relate. I've never been through that. And that's okay. Our experiences are going to be different. but kind of leaning into each other and being able to take a situation, take something that has happened and, to use it in a positive way. And I think for me, a lot of that is embracing my story, owning it. I dealt with so much shame from the circumstance of how my parents passed away. That shame component was eating me alive because I was so ashamed that my parents died of prescription drug overdoses, because in my mind and in my world, that was shameful. And I know that it was shameful for my parents, and a big reason why we didn't know that's how they passed away. And so, I think kind of addressing some of those underlying issues are important, but leaning into that support, knowing that it's okay to go see a counselor, to see a therapist, to focus on your own personal health and your own mental health and your well-being. And I think as athletes, sometimes we expect ourselves to be perfect, and
that stigma,
the stigma, unbreakable, unbeatable, and we do everything we can not to fail, not to take the loss, when it comes to a game, a match, a competition, but also in life. Nobody wants to take the L. But sometimes it's those L's and that loss column that help us to grow and to find our way back into the win column and to be stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And so I just think leaning into your resources, being okay with not being okay, right? And especially as student athletes and as being surrounded by, different resources, stepping up and just saying, hey, I've got this issue going on. I want to address it. And then, ultimately using that in a way to maybe encourage and inspire other people. Hey, I went through this thing. How can I help you? And also just taking inventory.
Yeah.
Taking inventory of yourself, but also those around you, your teammates, right? Sometimes I think people try to judge a book by its cover. On the outside, hey, you might be the happiest, most energetic person, but underneath it all, maybe you're fighting something, maybe you're struggling with something. So I think just taking that inventory, it can be really important. And just checking in on people, just checking in, a quick hello, a hi, how's it going? And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that, especially in this world of social media.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Social media is a big blanket, like you said, of, you don't get the whole story.
Yeah.
You can look a certain way on, social media, everything, life is good, all that, but behind closed doors, you may be in shambles. Yep. And you don't really know, so I got to talk to people. You got to have your core, you have your core group.
Yep. And I think, too, people project what they want you to see. And a lot of times, it's easy to say, oh, well, I saw this post from this person, they post about their kids or this or that or a life event. And you almost feel like you're there with them. And instead of reaching out and checking in, oh, I already know everything that's going on in their life. I don't need to check in. And I think sometimes that interpersonal connection gets rattled and gets broken because of social media. So I think, reaching out, talking to people, and just, taking that extra time to just check in. Hey, how are you? Just want to show my love and support. And, you might find that people will open up to you more, and, maybe you'll find somebody struggling with something that you can be of assistance with and be a support system for them.
Yeah, that's major. If you don't take anything away from this podcast, please take that away. It's important to have people in your circle. And then sometimes in life, you may not have people, but you may have the Lord, and he's the one. And on this episode and on this podcast in general, I love talking about, faith. Me and you are both express believers, which I love. We're both Christian athletes at one point as well. And just want to know, how do you feel like your journey that you've been on, just from the start in general, not just the last 19 years, but your journey in general, how has that increased your faith?
First of all, I love the segue. This guy's a pro here.
Yeah.
When you can seg on into that.
You like how I immersed that? Yep.
Yeah, you did that. Segues are a big part of this, and you nailed it. Faith has been such a big part of my journey, and I will say, going through a lot of the tragedy that I did, especially at Rutgers, out of the gate, I was sort of always the cheerleader and the, let's have faith, and growing up and with my parents when things would maybe seemingly be down, maybe the finances weren't going great. Obviously, my parents being in a lot of pain, I was kind of always the big cheerleader for the Lord. Hey, he's going to get us through this. He's going to get us through this. And then when my parents passed away, there was a moment, several moments of doubt, several moments of anger. How could this happen to me?
Why is this happening? Yeah.
Why me? Why me? Why me? And I found that I sort of had to kind of do the whole I can do this on my own. I got this. to really, turn around and say, wait a sec, like, I never was doing this on my own. God was carrying me through this all along. I just had to see that for myself and sort of bring myself back to it. And then got involved with some Athletes in Action at Rutgers. That's sort of our organization that's similar to FCA.
Love FCA.
And, just having that foundation, of other believers and athletes that share that same faith was important for me. And, it's been important for me to continue growing my faith. My faith has continued to grow. And there are times, and I think we can all relate to this, where we kind of take a couple steps away and we're like, and then we're like, wait a sec, let's bring it back in. We got to come back to the core of who we are and our purpose and who is driving this ship. And it ain't us.
It sure ain't us. Believe that.
It is not us. And so, just remembering that. And, one thing that, that I've kind of loved, when we talk about resilience, we talk about faith, talking with my therapist that I've been seeing now for a few years, who has just really helped me kind of unpack some of the emotions and things that, we all experience, right? And, I've learned that emotions are fleeting, right? And you're going to have emotions that are going to pick you up and put you up here, and then emotions that are going to get you down, and they're going to be woven in throughout all 24 hours of your day.
Yeah.
And just knowing that when you do come to a crossroads and you do have a struggle and you do get to a place where, you're questioning where you are, step back in your faith and just say, hey, like, God, like, I'm having some feelings about this. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm going, but it's having that faith that you can overcome and you will overcome. And this moment in time, this emotion of feeling sadness or this darkness is a fleeting emotion. It is going to go away. But while you're in that darkness, while you're in that place of uncertainty, lean into God, because he's ultimately going to be the one that's going to bring you back into the light. You just got to trust and have faith. And, sometimes it's not on our terms. It's never on our terms, really. And it's on his terms, but, his timeline. And I think that when you can be firm in that faith and just know, hope is such a beautiful thing. And to me, hope is a gift, right? Hope and faith are two things that I feel like is a gift that we are given and granted every single day when we wake up. And, if we knew what tomorrow held and 20 years from now held, then there would be no faith and there would be no hope. And so we can't predict everything and we can't know exactly what direction we're heading, but having faith and having hope in tomorrow and our purpose in life, I think, is what drives me. And, certainly I think, others like yourself who are followers of Christ, and how we can use that to inspire other people.
Yeah, it's just important that, like, as actively and open as you are and I am right now, just to stand firm in your faith in every single aspect you're in, any environment that you're in. And I just saw I think I was on TikTok, saw a TikTok video of Sydney McLaughlin, and it was right after she just won the world championships, and she was basically talking about standing firm in her faith despite, what else is going on. She's got major sponsors, things like that, and she was like, she'd much rather stand firm in her faith and, express to the world that she is a Christian and try to bring that hope and joy, to make accessible to others, regardless if she may potentially lose a sponsorship, things like that. How, for you, you've been working on major networks. We listed all your titles. You got a lot of them. You've been working on these major networks. How are you able to do that while standing firm in your faith as a believer and as a Christian?
That is such a great question, Justin, because I'll be honest with you, that was always an area of, kind of a gray area where I, especially entering into, the TV broadcast world, and then also with social media. And it's like, okay, where do I stand on this? How do I express my faith, but in a way that, isn't maybe too pressing or, is respectful for other people. And I think that, is my ultimate goal. And one thing that I do, and I know you've got a question coming up, so I don't want to give it all away because you talk about some superstitions and things that we're going to get into in a minute. But one thing that I do like to do, especially when I go out and report and step foot on that football field or whatever it is I'm covering in a given day, is asking God to give me the voice and the ability to tell a story that might impact someone else's life, right? And whatever that looks like, whether it's just a quick 10-second blurb or, I get out there and share a story, or the story unfolds on the field and I'm, in some way, shape, or form, part of delivering that story and allowing people that are at home watching on TV to say, wow, like this is amazing. And when they can see that, God's heart and, just his direction and guidance is sort of cast onto that story. I think that's so important. And so it is hard sometimes because you don't know how your faith will be accepted, and it may not be accepted by all. But for me, my job is just to share what I believe in, and really to be open arms, to all people, and just to say, hey, like, I love you, and I want to be the person that someone comes to when they have questions or are going through a difficult time in their life, and they don't feel that, whether they're a believer or not a believer, they know they can come to me and say, hey, like, I've got this thing, I'm really struggling with it. What is your, what's your advice? How do I handle this? And, just kind of navigating that way. And, I think in a lot of ways, we can kind of be sort of those, we can guide people in a certain way, and then God kind of does the rest.
Yeah, he does his work after that.
I think that's important. Yeah. But standing firm in that faith, I think, is really important, and living by that. And I think a lot of times you can almost stand in a room or be present on social media or be present in a setting, and people kind of know, pretty quickly where your heart is.
Yeah, something's different about that guy or that girl. Say,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we love to hear. I was actually having a conversation with a friend yesterday just about standing out as Christians in general and having people look back and, they may be Christians or they may not be, and say, something's different about that guy, something just about that girl, and I want to know about it. And I think that's our calling, that's our agenda as, believers while we're on this earth, is just to make sure other people, know that is out there and that they're,
the door's open.
Yeah, the door's open.
Come on in. When you're ready,
walk through, yeah.
Come on in.
So that's great. So Stuck in My Thoughts podcast, you already know how we talk about faith. And you ever have any questions, reach out. Feel free to reach out, and we'll help you out here.
Which, by the way, Stuck in My Thoughts, like literally when we were eating our grilled cheeses and you were eating your healthy whatever chicken wrap.
Yeah.
You were literally talking about, like, I want to do this podcast. I don't quite know what I'm going to name it yet. And you were kind of, you hadn't really unveiled what it was going to be. But when you put out there Stuck in My Thoughts, I was like, that guy right there.
Shout out Aniyha Jones.
Nailed it.
Shout out Aniyha Jones. Aniyha Jones is the key to the Stuck in My Thoughts name. She is very very impactful, very smart. She's actually doing an internship for Nike right now.
Okay.
So like she's big timing.
Okay.
Yeah, she does her thing. So
is she like the queen of like hashtags and like titles and?
She's the queen of getting it done. She makes a way. She does her thing. And shout out Aniyha, because I know she's gonna listen to it. She's supportive as well. We need supportive
Aniyha,
people.
we love you.
Love
you get
you.
like quadruple likes, like
hearts.
Just
Yeah, all that.
all the likes.
So, Lauren, on the Stuck in My Thoughts podcast, we have these things called the Dropbox questions. I kind of gave her a little insight of what they would be, just help her out. Now, we want these, not like crazy rapid, but we want them.
Yeah, got to move. And, I'm in the business of communicating. I like to talk a lot because I'm pretty sure this podcast, I don't even know what time it is and what time we started, but I'm pretty sure we've been going for a little while here.
Yeah.
So hopefully
we got to wrap it up. Got to wrap it up here. All right. First question. Who is your favorite person you've ever interviewed?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Come on. Like Charles Barkley, how much fun is he?
Yes.
Like that dude is just so much fun, as advertised, no filter, as genuine as they come, and literally has one of the biggest hearts. And so I just got to say.
Former Auburn basketball player.
Yeah. See, now you're on that Auburn train. So you can shout him out, right?
Charles, if you see this, be on the show. That's all I have to say.
Charles,
I met him on my official visit
you.
as well.
You did?
Yeah.
That's right. You got the pick with him.
Yeah. Charles, I don't want a picture this time. We want you in Lauren's seat.
Yes.
That's what we need.
I love it. Making the pitch.
Second question. We've seen on your Instagram, and if you haven't seen, you need to go check this out. You're a big avid dancer. You bust a lot of moves on there. Would you ever consider joining Dancing with the Stars?
Yes and yes. I would love to. I'm much more of a freestyler, and I would love to just kind of break it down and learn some different types of dancing besides just flailing around like the flailer that I am. So Dancing with the Stars would be a dream of mine, most certainly. So if we can make a pitch for that, that'd be great.
Yep.
I don't know if people want to see me on that show, but I think with some guidance, I could be pretty decent, maybe.
Hey, Dancing with the Stars, your people get with my people or her people. She's got a lot of people, and we'll set it up.
Yeah, we'll set it up. Let's go.
Okay. You can interview 3 people, dead or alive. Who would it be?
Okay, so I don't necessarily know if I want to go like in a particular order here, but I will say that I would love to interview. Are we going just athletes? Or
you can do whatever.
Anybody? Okay.
The Stuck in My Thoughts podcast is open to anybody, so I would think you should do that as well. Open the floor to anybody.
Open the floor to anybody. Gosh. Okay. See, now my brain just started spinning in a big way. I will say that I would love to interview someone like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is definitely high on the list. Number one, I was at the 2019 Masters when he won one of the greatest comebacks. I love his story, and I just love that he has become more and more open to sharing his story and where life has taken him, and life is not perfect, and we all, we can literally be up here one minute and down here at the next.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for people to see that. So Tiger Woods would definitely be one of them. I think another person that I would love to interview would be Simone Biles.
Okay. Simone Biles, she followed me on Visco one time.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Big timer.
Yeah. Hey.
I love that.
Yeah. Hey.
That's awesome. But Simone Biles, obviously the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time. She definitely has set a precedent for the sport of gymnastics, but also has really come to the forefront with mental health as of late with the recent Olympics. And, somebody that I have just, adore and think she is phenomenal on every level. And so the third person, see, now you've got me thinking outside the sports realm.
We have been in the sports realm, though, so we can stay there.
We can stay there. So if it makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah, you put some heavy hitters out there. Tiger Woods, Simone Biles. Who's the last one?
Let me put out there. I kind of wanted to go go into like the musical side of things.
Oh yeah, we love entertainment.
Because I will say that I grew up on a plethora of music, and a lot of the music that I grew up on definitely takes me back to a time when my parents were living, and some of the gymnastics meets and traveling and being all around the world. One of the groups that we used to listen to a lot were the Traveling Wilburys, which was the super band that has multiple, I guess, musical artists in it. One of them being Tom Petty. Love me some Tom Petty. Led Zeppelin's another one, but it's Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and now I'm going to draw a blank on the other 3 that are in this super band, and now I feel like I'm just rambling. But, kind of being in the music world, I would love to kind of like take a trip down memory lane with some of those musical artists that we listen to. So I would say somebody like Tom Petty would be very high on my list. Led Zeppelin would be very high on my list. Love some Leonard Skinner, some CCR, some of that Southern rock would definitely be pretty cool to kind of go there and maybe have that interview with my parents sitting next to me. It'd be pretty cool.
That would be nice. I like that. Okay, last one. What NCAA gymnast impresses you the most right now?
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to your girl over at Auburn.
Yeah.
Suni Lee. Look, one thing I got to say about her and what I love is, I know there was obviously a lot that came from the Olympics and what was going on, with Simone Biles and her coming in and obviously stepping up to the plate and having a phenomenal performance. Now she's at Auburn doing her thing, getting ready. And what I love is, I know we talk about NIL and a lot of what has come of NIL. And, I know there's some negative thoughts behind it, but also some very positive thoughts. And I will say, for someone like her to be able to go compete in the Olympics and then come live the dream as well as a collegiate athlete, you know what it's like to be a collegiate athlete. Being robbed of that is heartbreaking. And I think that anyone that can have that opportunity to be at the top of their game and then get to go be at the top of their game on the collegiate level is an amazing experience. So I love that for her. She's so much fun to watch. And got to give out a shout out to Bruce Pearl, who, kind of coined the whole, Auburn is an everything school. Shout out to him to bringing gymnastics to the forefront and just getting to see that sport obviously grow in notoriety as well, behind someone like Suni Lee, who is just a fun personality. So we'll give her a shout out as well. I know you
Yeah.
hoping to maybe get her on the show.
Hey, Suni, when I get on campus, we'll talk. And Bruce, we're going to definitely talk. Shout out to all my War Eagle people. Lauren, thank you for being on today's episode of the Stuck in My Thoughts podcast. You can find this podcast on all platforms. The visual is going to be on YouTube, and the audio is going to be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So y'all check us out, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you later. We out.